Good morning and welcome to the Grand Design Cook-Off. I hope you guys have received your things, or you should have done by now because I was delivering them, and if not, I've no idea what's gone wrong. So basically, in your brown bags you've got a series of ingredients that you're going to make a little butternut squash pasta dish and a radicchio and apple walnut blue cheese salad. So hopefully it ticks a lot of boxes. If you don't like any of those things, then tough, you're going to have to order pizza. But yeah, if you're good at cooking or if you're not, it's irrelevant. Hopefully this is a nice simple dish that you can turn to your hand to and everything. But before we get going, I'm just going to give you a heads up what you're going to need. You're going to need at least 2 pans, chopping board, knife, nice sharp knife. If you have a hand blender, that's a bonus, okay? If you don't worry about it, your sauce will just be a bit more rustic, as they say. And that's about it. So we're going to start by doing our sauce. We'll do our pasta, then our sauce. So in your bags, you're going to find this stuff. It's basically semolina, really fine, kind of a grain, essentially a flour. And this makes the most simple pasta. So you don't need one of those machines. You're not making really fancy ribbon pasta. This is proper hearty Italian rustic pasta. If anyone's been, kind of you've got orchetti and Malloreddus pasta, commonly used shapes from this. And all you need is semolina and water, and that's it. So you've got 200 grams, and into that is going to go 100 grams of boiling water. So my kettle's boiled, so you go and do that now. Go boil your kettle. And then you have your kettle. So put your pasta, or should I say your semolina, into a fairly deep bowl. Get the scales on. Zero it, and then what we're going to do is pour 100 grams, it's metrics, all the same. We're going to pour 100 into that. And it has to be boiling water, because this will help start cooking the pasta. And it's not much at all. And once that's in, start mixing, preferably with a fork, you don't want to burn your hands. And push through all the lumps, okay? It won't look like much at the beginning, and you'll think this is never going to turn into pasta. But it will, trust me. So push it all through with a fork. So when you say, oh, I'm going to make, you don't need the pasta machine, you can do this. This is brilliant, especially if you've got any children going to university, teach them this one because they'll never go hungry. This is good for adding to soups and stews, just to kind of beef it up a bit. And you'll make quite a lot today, so I'd say 200 grams is enough easily for 2-3 people. If you want a small portion, just leave it on the side to dry and then put it in a jar, and you've got dry pasta. So we can start, it's coming together. You can probably get your hands in now, it's cooled down a bit. So I've got big lumps there, and squash it together with your hand. Okay, I'm going to combine it as much as possible, and then we're going to do a quick knead, and then we're going to let it rest a little bit. Okay, so make sure you clean your bowl as well. All those bits, every single ounce. And the moisture from your hand as well, that's going to help combine everything. So, there I have my really rough dough ball, okay? And my bowl's empty. And then put it onto your surface, and then just start to knead it, okay? So what you're trying to do is push your heel through the bottom of the pasta and turn it over. And after you do this, it'll become more elastic. You're basically working it, and essentially it's a little bit like making bread kind of thing. You're trying to encourage the gluten to work. Obviously, if you're gluten free, don't do this bit or don't eat this bit. You can just have a rough sauce with a bit of cheese, but it's well worth having a go anyway, even if you're not going to eat it. So keep pushing it through, and you'll feel it come together quite quickly. Almost there. No such thing as a free meal, they always say as well. While you're doing this, with your other hand, if you're close, go and turn your oven on to 180 to 200, so that can get nice and hot. Because when this is resting, we're going to do our sauce. Okay, so a couple more minutes. And then we're almost there. Lovely. Okay, so it'll start to become a little bit more like Play-Doh now, okay? So it's a lot more malleable because of that warm water, and obviously you're working it as well. I always give it a few sausage rolls as well. And then you're pretty much there. Smooth out or turn it into itself. And there you have basically Malloreddus pasta. Really simple semolina pasta. And what we're going to do, we're going to chop off little bits of this, and then you can make cool shapes. But okay, so there we go. It's nice and worked. It's got a bit of give, bit of stretch, bit of elasticity. And we're going to wrap this in cling film now. So go and grab your cling film and just wrap it. You can chuck it in the fridge or just put it to the side because this is going to come together fairly quickly. But this will stay in the fridge for eternity because there's no spoil, it's just water and flour. But I would say just make all the shapes, just make it all and then dry those shapes and then put it in a kiln jar. So get some cling film. There we go, so that goes to the side. There you go, first job done. Who would have thought you made pasta in 2 minutes? Okay, next job, we're going to make our squash sauce. So, let's run through the ingredients. You've got an onion, a couple of garlic, some parmesan, creme fraiche, a squash. I've already peeled mine, okay? So, you can start peeling it now. If you've got the round end, you need to peel it and de-seed it. So with a spoon, just scoop out all those seeds, okay? Feel free to pause me at any time because you've got the power today. So I'm going to start by prepping my onions because I've already peeled my squash. I'm ahead of the game. So with your onion, you're going to take the end off, okay, and then cut it in half. Really important, we leave the root on, okay? So it's going to hold our onion together as we chop everything else. And then take the skin off. Life's too short to be faffing around to eating the most outer skin. If it's not coming, just go one underneath and make it nice and easy for yourself. We use the whole onion. You essentially this is also you're on the way to a soup. So if you do want to make it a little bit thinner, you've got an amazing base for a soup as well. Okay? And that's what Italian food is. It's simplicity, but also very flexible to other dishes. So, skin off the onion, squash, my garlic as well. I'm going to chuck a couple of garlic in. Again, a little trick for you. So, we've got the root end. I'm going to take that clean off, so it's off, and then with the back of your knife, give it a little tap, and then it should come out of the skin. Easy peasy. So if you've learned nothing today, there's one thing for you. Okay, so first job, we want to get our squash in the oven roasting. So you've got your squash that's been peeled and or de-seeded, and then we're going to make loads of strips like that, okay, big strips. And we want 1 centimetre, 2 centimetre dice, okay, so once you've got all your strips, you then go back across, so you've got battens like chips, and then you've got your cubes, okay? So we want to do that with all of them. Obviously the smaller you cut them, the quicker it will cook. But bear in mind, if you're going to cut them quite small, they will get a lot more colour quicker. So you need to keep an eye on them, because we don't want too much colour, because then it starts to dry up and become a bit kind of crispy. So rattle through those. Half a squash is plenty for 2 people. It'll make a nice starchy sauce. Funny how big your squash is as well, and it can be any squash. So especially if you grow your own, or you go to a fruit and veg supplier and they've got some crazy kind of crown prince squashes, other things like that, feel free to use one of them. Because we don't need any kind of, we just need nice flavour and taste and texture. So it goes all onto your baking tray. As you can see, you get plenty. Season this, bit of salt and olive oil, okay? Be nice and generous. Lovely. And then that's going into your oven. So pretty much, hopefully, takes to cook enough time to get everything else together, and we just bring it together. So into your oven, and we start prepping our onions. So with your onions, cut them in half. So you've got root on still, and we want, it doesn't really matter if you go big or small because it's going to get blitzed up anyway, but for speed we want to fine dice. And if your chopping skills are really rubbish and you hate doing it, what I say, just chuck it all into like a hand blender and you make a paste essentially. So that's nice and quick. Or if you want to practice your chopping skills, look at the camera and do it at the same time without chopping your fingers off. That's the main thing. So rattle through those. My onions chopped, nice and finely diced. And then my 2 garlic cloves I can just roughly chop through this as well. This works pretty much with all root vegetables and any vegetables. You could roast cauliflower, you could roast sweet potato and make a sweet potato sauce, or cauliflower sauce would be lovely. Pan on. I'm using quite a high-sided pan. We get some heat under that and then a good drizzle of olive oil. Okay? Let that get a little bit warmer and then we can get that in and start sweating off. Okay? You'll notice as well you've got some charcuterie and a bit of cheese, so I would suggest have the charcuterie to start with some nice bread, and then you've got the pasta, or the salad is your little pre-made dish, and then your second dish can be the pasta dish, and then you've got a bit of chocolate and cheese to finish, and all the bubbly from Polgoon Vineyard. So to me that sounds like a pretty good dinner teed up for you. Okay. Onions go in the pan. This whole thing about kind of should I use olive oil or vegetable oil or rapeseed oil, if you're doing a dish like this, I would say olive oil is absolutely fine because we're not heating to any great temperature. Bit of salt in with your onions straight away as well, that's going to help pull out moisture. So going back to olive oil, if you're sweating off and doing it nice and slow simmer, that's absolutely fine. It's only if you're, I would say, cooking fish or steaks in the pan and it's really high ferocious heat, use something like a vegetable oil or a rapeseed oil specifically. What we're going to do, we're just going to sweat these off. And then while those are doing those things, we can turn our attention to the salad. Now this is it's essentially a Waldorf salad, but we're going to cook it. The French and Italians love cooking kind of salads and leaves especially. So if you haven't had raddicco before, it's an amazing, it's quite bitter, but we're going to have obviously blue cheese, lemon and apple to balance everything up. So we're going to peel your apple. Keep an eye on the sauce. If you can hear it getting a bit hot, you need to turn it down because we don't want any colour. Your main thing is no colour. Okay? We want it nice and softly broken down. Get all the skin off, the apple. Lovely jubbly. And then take the end off the apple, or both ends should I say, and cut it in half. You can leave the seeds in, it's not a problem, or the core should I say, but if you don't want them, just cut it into quarters, okay, and then stand them up like a soldier and just trim out the inside, okay, so you've got a nice clean apple. Check your onions. If you ever feel your onions are getting a bit too hot and you're getting a bit too much colour in the pan, with your bit of water, or we've had the kettle from earlier, just a splash of that just stops it getting too hot and you're sweating again, okay? So I want 8 small pieces of apple. So we've quartered them, taken the cores out, and now I've got my apple pieces. You guys have got half a raddicco. I'm going to cut mine into 4, but I just cut yours into 2. Keep it quite big, because as it cooks, it will break down a lot. So the bigger you keep it, the more robust it'll be able to manage with the heat. I'm going to cut mine into 2 as well. Per person, like half a salad is more than enough for 4 people. So I've got my 2 pieces. Lovely. This is coming together nicely. I hope it's coming together for you guys as well, efficiently. It's always a bit daunting because you're not sure the next step is. I do. But have a read through your instruction sheet or your recipe sheets as well. You can kind of get ahead of the game there as well. So our onions are sweating off. We've got our apples or salad cut up and prepped. Now we're going to go with a bit of thyme or rosemary or sage, whatever woody herb you've got, into your onions. Okay? Because I've got thyme, I'm going to grab the end and just pull it down and get the leaves in. Thyme and squash are best friends, or sage as well is also a really good one. But as I said, any kind of really robust woody herb is perfect. These would also, if you've got any left over, chuck it in with your apple salad, because thyme, blue cheese, best friends as well. Check your squash. Doing nicely. Lovely. Okay. Now your onions can go onto a smaller ring, or not your main ring, because we're going to steal that heat now. So put that onto a smaller bit of heat, and then for the salad, I'm using quite a flat dish or an open dish for that. You will need a lid. So if you've got a frying pan and any lid, it doesn't matter if it necessarily fits. We just need to create a little bit of steam. So heat on, get that frying pan on some heat now. Bit of oil. And we're going to go in with our apples first. Get loads of colour on those, and then we can add our salad bits, the walnuts and the blue cheese. Finish it with a bit of lemon. Okay. You'll have a stock cube in some green foil. Now I would suggest cut it in half and start with a half, because it's got quite a lot of salt in, so we don't want to make it too salty. So put a half of your stock cube in now into your onion mix. So that can go straight in. Chuck a little bit of water on top of that. Doesn't need to be loads, because we can always add more we can't take away. Yeah. So once we add our squash a bit later on, then we can start thinning out the sauce to our desired consistency. Lovely, so that's you can dilute. We need the frying pan really hot. And we're going to finish with a bit of Parmesan and creme fraiche. This can be easily a vegan dish. You just use a bit of soy yogurt. I'd probably use like yeast flakes as well instead of Parmesan to give you that really saltiness and nice taste at the end. Okay, apples into your frying pan. And they need to be sizzling pretty much straight away. Touch of salt, not lots, but we want to be eating it a starter, not a dessert. So we just need to make sure it's got a nice balance. Have a quick tidy up. In terms of cheeses for the salad dish, any blue cheese. Gorgonzola is lovely, or you can get dolce, which is nice as well. But yeah, blue cheese, some Cornish blue is a bit more subtle, which you've also got in your hampers. I'd save that for eating rather than the dish. Okay, now I'm going to quickly show you this. Okay, so that is my onion mix. Got nice bit of sweated off onion. Got a thyme in there, got my stock. So it's a really good base that we can add our squash to. Okay, for your pasta, for your Malloreddus, it does not matter what shape you do. It's absolutely irrelevant. You can do any shape you want. We're going to do like a Malloreddus using, well, I'm going to use this little pasta board, which has got some kind of divots in. But you want to use a chopping board or a fork, make it like gnocchi shape, or even orchetti, which is basically just your thumb and makes a big circle, like a small little plate. So get your pasta out of the fridge, and we can start making that at least, and that can be put to the side. So cut off, well, turn it into two, so you know how much you're doing. And then what we're going to do is roll it into a sausage, okay? Roll into a long sausage, and we want to be about a centimetre thick. If there's two of you, I would say delegate. You become head chef, delegate to your partner, say that this is what we're doing. So once you get about kind of that long, cut it into half. And as I said, we want to be about a centimetre thickness all the way across. Got our apples on, we don't need to mess with them because we want colour, okay? So don't be too worried about them. They can stay in contact with the pan pretty much the entire time. Lovely. So I've got my half a half, and what I'm going to do with the knife, just go down and chop into like centimetre bits, okay? Now, I've got a pasta board, so what I'm going to do is holding the board around 45 degrees, and with my thumb, I'm going to push down, and then you get that wicked spiral colour with a bit of a divot in. Or, just take your thumb and push down to the middle, give it a little twist, and you've got orchetti, okay, which means little ears in Italian, okay. Or again, another one for you. Just roll it really thin, like a bit of a spider's web or a bit of a big tangled loop. Give it a twist, and you can just have little bits of tiny bit of spaghetti, okay. So it does not matter what shape you have. So I'm just going to rattle through my pasta board, just running my thumb down the middle. Be quite kind of firm with it, okay, and push through so we get that hole in the middle. A bit more pasta. Putting you under pressure today. Put you outside your comfort zone. We're not building houses, we're cooking. Much harder. Okay, that's got one portion done. Okay, we can turn our attention to our apples now. Okay, they've got loads of colour on, nice and caramelised, there's lots of sugar in them. So once that's done, we take our whole quarter of radicchio and we're going to lay that in the pan. Okay, touch of seasoning, bit more oil, and we get loads of colour on that. Right, bit of water into my onions again. I've got a bit of a blue Peter, so I've had my squash in already. You guys are probably another 5-10 minutes off the squash. Mine are done. So as we can see, they're nice and cooked. Give them a squeeze if they're nice and soft. Perfect. And we can put those straight into your onions and stock pan, okay? Because this is going to be the base of your sauce. Lovely stuff. And we can crank the heat up on that pan now because we're almost there with our sauce. So a bit of a recap. Radicchio I haven't touched, my apples I haven't touched. We're getting some great colour on the radicchio. Turn that onto the other side. And then tiny splash of water. And your lid can go on, okay? And that's going to steam everything and just soften the salad and the apple. Okay, so how are we getting on with pasta? You doing any crazy shapes, I hope? As I said about the drying, do all your shapes, and even if you don't use all this evening, and you just use a handful or a few of them, leave it on the side to just go rock hard. and then you can put it into a jar and you just pop that into, as I said, you just boil it again in water, or you can put that straight into soups, and it makes a lovely bit of a filler. You can hear that salad going off. Give it a quick turn. And at this point, it's entirely up to you how you want the salad. You can either really broken down and really wilted, or still quite firm. Entirely up to you. I'm going to put a touch more water into my sauce, and then go in my creme fraiche. Okay, so that can go in. Creme fraiche is really resilient. You don't need to worry about it boiling or splitting, because there's so much fat in it, and that's why it tastes good. So that can go into my sauce. Give that a quick stir. Okay, lovely stuff. Right, this is my salad. It should be going a bit crazy now, which is what we want. Lots of colour on the apples, the salad started to melt. And while it's still in the pan, I'm going to crumble in my blue cheese, okay? And that means it's just going to melt a little bit, start forgiving. And that's pretty much ready, so you can either turn everything off, or so you take your squash out of the oven and then turn it off, and have this with your charcuterie to start. So I'll plate that up first so you can see what it looks like. And we're going to finish it with some walnuts and a bit of lemon. If you want to go one more, I would do like a red wine vinegar, Dijon mustard and olive oil dressing. It's lovely with this. But to keep it super simple, but it's really warm, wintry salad. Got my walnuts, you can just crumble them through. You can put these in a pan as well if you want to get some heat into them. It's entirely up to you, it doesn't really matter. And then a really good, generous squeezing of lemon all the way through. And finish with some olive oil. I think that's a brilliant salad, personally. So that's what you're left with. You've got this amazing plate of warm radicchio and apple blue cheese walnut salad. Okay, so if you guys want to tuck into that, just hit pause. Go and enjoy it with some breaded charcuterie. If you want to bring the rest of the dish together and just part that and have it just warm in a minute, this next bit won't take long at all. Okay, so sauce is now, I've got my squash, basically squash, onions, bit of water, veg stock and my creme fraiche all in here. Okay, so I'll put this amazing kind of chunky sauce. If you haven't got a hand blender, it's not a problem. You can have it exactly like this, just with the pasta. I do, so it's not a problem. And before we do that, you can use the same pan as your apple salad if you want to, or get a new pan. But just a bit of water in there for our pasta. And the pasta takes 2 minutes. Yeah, it's fresh pasta, so it doesn't take long at all. With your water, whenever you're cooking pasta, make sure it's really, really, really well seasoned, okay? So good, generous bit of seasoning in there. And then get my blender. I'm going to start blending up my sauce, okay? Have a bit of water on standby. Okay, at this point it's entirely up to you what texture you want. Lovely stuff. Okay, that's done. Got a lovely, nice thick sauce there. Pan's on for our pasta, and we're almost there. Okay, stay with me. We've got this. All we've got to do is finish with a bit of parmesan for the pasta dish. If you've got one of these, microplane, if you haven't got one, shall I say, put it on your Christmas list, they'll change your life. Got a lid for our pasta water, and we can start bringing it together. Okay. Get a bowl for your pasta. There's plenty more recipes on our Facebook, on social media stuff, and on the website blog especially. So if you do like today, and you say, look, I want a bit more of that, check out the foodie blog. There's always stuff being posted, and give it a go. We have a YouTube channel now, which you will be probably logged into. Check out the other stuff we've done. It's all really simple, seasonal, nice Cornish stuff, with a bit of a twist on some of it. But there's loads of stuff to explore. Want to make sure it's a nice hard boil for the pasta. Give it a bit of a taste. What does it need? I'm going to finish with a bit of lemon. It's really rich, so some sort of acidity, whether it's white wine vinegar, cider vinegar, a bit of lemon to finish, it'd be really good. Okay, good rolling boil. My pasta can go straight in now. And the good things about these, when they rise to the top, they're pretty much cooked. Now, while that's boiling, you can clean down, like all good chefs, or go and sit down if it's been a bit much for you. I hope there's been lots of delegation. That's what I like to see. Teamwork makes dream work, as they say. So it's a nice, easy dish if there's two of you. The Italians say pasta water should be as salty as tears. So if it's not salty enough, give it a taste more salt. Because at the end of the day, well, what we've got is just flour and water. So there's not much flavour in that. So the water will carry a lot of that flavouring and seasoning for you. You can already see some rising to the top. So the thinner ones won't take any time at all. Those thicker Malloreddus ones will take a bit longer. And always serve your pasta in your sauce, not on top, not around it, not on the side. Always got to be worked through your sauce, because that gives you the nice taste. So when they rise to the top, I would say give it another minute and a half, and you'll definitely make sure they're cooked then. Let me just show you one while the rest is doing its thing. So they plump up a fair bit, so don't go too fat to start with. But as you'll see, you've got, you can't see the lines, but you've got a nice little area to catch it in. A bit longer. For those who haven't been on holiday to Italy, or certainly no one's been on holiday this year, you've got to check out Puglia. So that's where a lot of semolina pasta is made. It's a slightly more humble food cuisine, but nevertheless amazing. So check out Puglia if you've never been to Italy. I recommend it highly. Lovely stuff. So pasta can go straight into my sauce, and use a bit of that kind of pasta water. It's got loads of flavour into it, and a bit of starch from the semolina. work it around the sauce. And then serve. So this is super simple and really rich and luscious for this time of year. It's almost like a gnocchi base. Parmesan, plenty of it. So that's going to be another bit of seasoning for you. And a tiny squeeze of lemon just to finish. Okay? And there you have your Malloreddus and squash sauce. So, if you're a bit exhausted after that, please go and have a glass of your Polgoon fizz. And from everyone at Philly Way, thank you for watching and hopefully doing and eating. And have a wonderful Christmas. So yeah, Grand Designs.